Okay, we got our engine running. We have our tools laid out, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to tear it down to the point where we could see that piston moving up and down, and we're going to do a generic compression test. But first we need to remove some parts in order to do that. We have our tools laying out here. We are going to be using the metric tools, which means the ones that have the little mm on them, not the ones with a fraction. They may seem like they fit, but they don't. Okay. We also have a phone out here. We have tape. We have a pen, a marker, a cup, and some Diorio. If you'd like to explain why we have some of these things out.
We want to stay organized. What we want to try to do is we want to try to stay as organized as we possibly can. Everybody has one of these nowadays, and basically we could take a million pictures on this and it's not going to cost us anything. So the more pictures I take of this at different angles while my partner's holding the engine in different places, the easier it's going to be for me to reassemble when I'm reassembling. Okay? If I take a couple of bolts off right here, and this is for the plastic cover here, or I take a couple of bolts off here, which is part of the muffler, I want to wrap those bolts or nuts up with the tape, wrap them up, get them together, make a little tab at the end, and mark down with the marker what part I'm taking off, and I throw that in the cup and try to stay as organized as I possibly can. We have a phone that is cheap, free for pictures, and tape, which is cheap to stay organized. So, once again, we have everything here. There's not one part, tool, socket, ratchet, anything missing. As Mr. Jerzyk said again, basically everything on this engine will be taken apart in millimeters or metric. And basically, we're going to be using, for the most part, 3 different sizes, 8, 10, and 13 millimeters.
And again, can't stress the tool organization enough, and the organization of the parts and how they come off so we could put it together later. I know a lot of you guys like to tinker around at home, and I know a lot of you guys have taken stuff apart at home to try and fix it without it going back together. These need to go back together. Other students need to use these next semester, next year, what have you. We need to get about 10 years out of these engines. Okay? All right. So we're going to begin by taking our air cleaner off, and this is housing an air filter, which is going to clean the air that comes into our engine and mixes with the gas and burns. The reason why we have an air cleaner is to keep, 1, the dirt out of the engine, 2, if we're working on a construction site and there's a lot of dust, sand, what have you in the air, we don't want that getting into the engine. It's going to ruin our longevity of our engine. So when we go to take this apart, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, I have my little wing nut there, my plastic wing nut, my cover, and then another little wing nut here to take my filter off. Now, I already have 3 parts that came off rather easily. I still need to mark all of these. Make sure what they are, where they go together, so on and so forth. And there is my air cleaner. Obviously they're new, they're clean. If we were doing some maintenance on this, we would check this for dirt and debris and replace as needed. This is something we will look at on the vehicle when we start doing oil changes and some vehicle maintenance later on in the semester.
So, took my 2 fasteners off, put them to a piece of tape, tape them to the housing cover, and I'm going to put the filter in here so I'm nice and organized. Everything that came off of here is right here.
Okay, next step is we want to try and get our exhaust manifold off. If I turn it this way, you can see that there is 2 nuts I need to take off in order to remove it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try a few different sockets. I always want to use a 6-point when I can, and again we're using metric. So I'm going to grab one that I think fits. I know which one fits, but since you guys are watching, no, that doesn't fit. That seems kind of tight. But, you know what? I'm just going to check this one too. Oh, wow, that one fits a lot better.
A lot better, huh?
I think I'm going to use that one. If I use this one, I might end up breaking something. So we need to use the right tool for the right job.
And that's a 13 millimeter
13 millimeter.
deep well 6-point socket.
And I'm using the 1/4-inch drive. We could also use a 13 deep 3/8 drive. We'll get the same job done. So we could have one set of tools where 2 or 3 groups could possibly work off of. We don't necessarily need to bring out all 10 sets. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to turn this. But as I go to turn it, I want to go to the left. Okay. As I'm going to the left, think of the handle as a clock. I want to go to the left, counterclockwise. But as I turn, I'm going to put a lot of pressure down here, and you can see where my knuckles are. If all of a sudden I break this nut loose, I'm going to bust my knuckles on the drive shaft here. Okay? Safe way to do it is when I go to unloosen that bolt, I want to keep my palm open, so that way if it slips, I'm not hurting anything. Okay? So, go ahead and turn that, and it's gotten loose. I'm going to do my other one the same way. It's loose. And once you've loosened them up, now my ratchet doesn't work anymore because it's so loose. Sometimes what I like to do is just take the socket itself, and you can turn the nut off. Or, if it's not in a hard to reach place, like this one is, we could simply use our fingers. Now, once again, we have 3, 4 more parts that we're taking off.
Huh.
What happened there, Mr. DiRio?
It's like the gasket fell apart a little bit. We're starting to separate.
It is. This shouldn't be a big concern. We can probably get a couple uses out of the same gasket. Again, we're not using these engines on our mini bikes. We're not using them on our tractors. We're not going to go plow a field with these things. We just need them to run for a couple seconds. We can try and reuse that gasket. A gasket set for this engine starts getting expensive, especially if we have 30 plus engines going at one semester. So you want to salvage all the reusable parts as much as we can. Okay? 2 things we could do with this gasket is carefully take it off so we don't damage it anymore. Yeah, and it seems like it's going to be a little bit difficult to come off. So you know what? I'm just going to leave it in place and hope that nothing happens
So
to
it's
it.
still pretty solid.
Okay? It's still there. We can put it back together. It'll still do its job.
Make a seal.
Okay?
I'm going to take another picture
Good
because I want
idea.
to see what this looks like opened up with the exhaust off here now and the intake off.